What drugs are you on to even think of saying that this story has no plot? It is a fucking masterpiece.
Welcome to Not Safe for Words. I'm your host, Crystal L. Kirkham, multi-genre author, editor, and cover designer. I'm here to give you insight into the world of publishing and to help you avoid the mistakes that others have made. So stick around, you're in for one hell of a ride where I don't curb the curses.
Alrighty, friends. So I'm going to apologize that this episode is rather late. My life has been a beautiful series of chaos between dog shows and whelping puppies. On that fact, I helped to bring 8 beautiful little poodle puppies into this world. And my baby girl Fred also won winner's bitch at her very first dog show. And I'm quite proud of my little girl and quite proud of the fact that there are 8 new beautiful poodle puppies in this world. So that is where I have been, which is why this episode is late, because my head just wasn't in the game. Now, this has absolutely dick all to do with what we're talking about today, which is objectivity. Like so many of the things we talk about here, this is not a topic that is expounded upon enough. During your writing career, whether at the beginning stages or no matter how well advanced you are into this, you are going to be getting a lot of feedback. And being objective about the feedback you're getting, or learning to try and be objective about the feedback you're giving, is something that's really important. So let's start this off by stating one of the biggest facts that there is. And that is this. Writing is an art form. Stories are art. And it's really hard to be fucking objective when you're talking about art. But, like with anything, there are certain notes and strides and points that you need to hit when you're doing any kind of art to really have it excel in its field. And writing is no different. And well, it's really hard to be critical and objective about so many things. You do need to understand that being able to be objective, or understanding the difference between objective and subjective feedback, is going to make your life a lot easier. It's going to make your feedback a lot easier to handle, and maybe perhaps even to give. It's kind of a bit of a nebulous topic, I'm going to be honest with you, and it's really hard to put into words exactly what I want to tell you all about being objective. But it is a lot easier to deal with shit if we can try and break down this subject into something that is a little bit more understandable. So the biggest thing is, let's say somebody's talking about plot structure. This may seem like a pretty straightforward and easy concept, something that you can be very objective about. But the problem with this is most of the people you're going to encounter, especially if you're white, is people who are familiar with Western plot structures. And there are so many other different types of ways of constructing a plot that aren't familiar to many audiences. And that is what I say by sometimes even things that seem objective are really subjective criticisms, because you might not be writing one of those plot styles that are very common in Western media and very well known, and that a good majority of possibly your readers, especially if you're in North America or Western Europe, are going to be familiar with. Now, I'm just using this as a bit of an example. I'm no expert on different types of storytelling, although I do love to attend conferences and try and learn more about storytelling concepts and plot lines that we aren't as familiar with from popular media. And I really hate the term Western, but it is what's popularized by cis white heteroculture, and those are the things that we do have to deal with. and understand are a part of the framework that we're going into. And that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother fucking day. But as I said, I'm just using that as an example of how something that is or seems like an objective criticism is actually rather subjective and only coming from the point of view of a person who understands that one narrow way of doing a plot structure. Although there are so many different ways. Honestly, guys, attend a fucking conference and find out. But I am not the person to be able to do that. And maybe in one of my guest series that I'm planning on doing, we can find somebody who will be willing to break down the ideas of different storytellings for different types of cultures. Not my expertise, unfortunately. Maybe one day I'll learn more about it. But yet again, I digress. So that just brings up the point that no matter what you're writing or what sort of feedback you're getting or giving, it can only come from the point of view of their experience and their knowledge, which isn't infinite, unfortunately. No matter how good somebody is or how long they've been in this goddamn industry, they still only have a limited amount of experience and knowledge for everything to come from. And some people have more, some people have less. So that's one of the biggest things to remember. And as an editor, when I have to give rejections and I have to do certain things, I need to be able to try and phrase it in a way that this is just the opinion of one editor and one person, in that I don't think personally that this is a strong enough or interesting enough character development within this sample I've been given for me to want to offer to read the full manuscript and perhaps give you a contract. And it's never personal, and that's the thing. No matter what feedback you're getting or giving, it can't ever and should never be personal. And let's say when you're giving feedback, we've talked about the art of leaving reviews, and this is one of the places where it's absolutely critical to practice being more objective and try and think outside of your box of experience and go, okay, well, this isn't a genre I like, but for this genre, it does this, this, and this, which is great, but it doesn't do this and this and this, which I would expect to see within this genre. It's always harder to do if you're not familiar with something. And this is where reading widely and expanding your experience and knowledge base as much as possible can be really fucking useful to you. Being objective, or understanding that no matter how objective somebody is, it still is coming from a limited point of view, is going to make it a lot easier to understand what feedback is valid and what feedback isn't. And also how to give more valid feedback to others when asked for it. And as I said, this is a really hard topic to try and stick a nail in. It's highly nebulous and it's subjective. Your objectivity is subjective. Now, this topic is actually one of the reasons why I never outright dismiss any feedback I get, because I know people's experiences and knowledge bases are different than mine. And maybe they think they're giving objective feedback that I think is just totally like, what the fuck are you even thinking? And this is where it becomes critical to put on your author thinking cap and be able to put yourself in somebody else's fucking shoes. Because when you're able to do that, you might be able to see things from a point of view that you would have never considered otherwise. And that's a really great way to be able to expand your own abilities, your knowledge, and everything. Expand yourself. I mean, other than by eating more bread like I do. Don't do that one. But expansion will make you a better author. It will make you a better writer. And it will help you be able to form a more well-rounded story. Because when you can put yourself in somebody else's shoes and see things from their point of view in a way that you may not think works, is going to allow you to write characters that are further from who you are and yet still very realistic and understandable. which I guess seems a little bit off the base when we're talking about feedback and objectivity, but it really does come full circle, because being able to understand that somebody is coming from a different place, a different understanding, and even if you think that they're not being objective, that they're just really being subjective in their point of view, there's a reason that they think those things. There's a reason that they said that. And honestly, being a writer means you're a curious fucking bastard, right? You're always asking questions. You're always trying to dig deeper, find out more, find out why, find out how. And this is one of the ways you can do that. When I talked about expansion, this is it. So, no matter how objective somebody thinks they're being, or how objective you think you're being, do remember it is coming from, once again, your limited experience and knowledge base, and it may seem objective to you, but somebody else might think that you're the one being totally off the wall. And of course, there are things that are very obviously subjective, like, oh, for fuck's sake, you know what, guys? I don't even have a goddamn example for this one, because I'm sure they didn't think they were being subjective, but maybe they just don't like the color of your MC's hair, and that's really neither here nor there and has nothing to do with how written a book is. Like, oh, you gave your character white hair and black eyes. Like, that makes them sound like a demon. Why are they your MC? And yeah, that's a little weirdly subjective, I guess. But maybe they have a reason why they're thinking that. Maybe there's something in the culture and the way they were raised that made them think and associate that sort of thing with a demon. And once again, even if it is totally, seemingly subjective, it does give you a new point of view and a way to consider things if you try and look at it from someone else's point of view. Doing this, being able to understand that even if it seems like an objective piece of feedback, that it does come from a small, not small is not the right word. It is just one of those nights, my friends. It does come from a place of their own personal experiences and knowledge. And however narrow or wide that may be, it is still their experience and knowledge. But there are other people out there that are probably going to feel or think what they feel or think. And it does do you well to bear that in mind as you move forward, especially in the earlier stages of feedback. When you get feedback that you're like, dude, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean you think this is stupid? Like, that's not useful. Obviously, saying something stupid isn't useful. Saying why you think it isn't working for you is useful. But it's still something that can be worked with. It's still something that we can understand. This is all an art. And you know what? It is yours to command. But like the example at the beginning, you can't just dismiss everything, because it is coming from a place where they believe those things, and other people will probably do so too. And it's up to you as the writer and the author to sit back and go, well, is this a critical enough thing? Why do they think this way? And then look at it from there. When it comes to getting reviews, well, there's little you can do at that point other than take that information, and if you think you can objectively apply their criticisms about your story to future work, then do it. And that's why I read reviews, because I always want to learn and I always want to expand, but that's just me. And we've talked about reviews and how they're not for everybody to read. And if you can't control your emotions, don't read them. But learning that even though somebody thinks their feedback is objective, it still comes from that one place of their knowledge and experience. And you know what? I hope I'm not confusing you all on this topic more than I have to. Or, sorry, I don't have to confuse you, but I probably am, because at this point I'm almost confusing myself. And I really wish I had a better way to put all of this into words, and maybe I've done that. Maybe I haven't today. And maybe you're just sitting there scratching your head so hard that you've decided not to listen to the next episode. But as an author, a writer, as somebody in the publishing industry, there is so much shit thrown at you that learning that your objective opinion might not be as objective as you think, and learning that other people's opinion may not be as objective as it seems, is a really important marker to keep in mind. And while you can't just go about dismissing everything somebody says as, oh, well, that's only your point of view and only your experience, that doesn't do you any good. You're not going to grow. You're not going to expand. You're not going to be able to learn to see things from somebody else's perspective and point of view. And that's really what I'm trying to get to, is that when you're dealing with other people, it is important to keep in mind that what you consider to be objective to them may be subjective. What they consider objective may be to you a subjective observation. But no matter who is saying what, so long as it's said with the intent of being truly helpfully critical and constructive, then it's never something that should be totally ignored. Anything, of course, just said to hurt you, well, you can yeet that out the fucking window, okay? But just remember that objective only goes so far. And I hope that helps you a little bit in your dealings with other people in the industry when you get feedback from editors and from beta readers and ARC readers and even reviewers. I hope that helps you try and understand and be able to keep a handle on your emotional reactions to some of the things you're going to encounter in your writing journey. Now, normally I cut it off at this point, but you may have heard me mention something about my interview series, and we're going to try something new with some bonus episodes of guest speakers. And while I did try and keep them around about my normal length of an episode, we did get a little off topic in some places, and those are going to start appearing and popping up at random in between some of my regular episodes. So I hope you enjoy my guest speaker series, and if you feel like you have really good insight or knowledge on a topic and you want to be a guest on Not Safe for Words, hit me up on Twitter. Let me know what it is you want to talk about, why you want to talk about it, and we can try and arrange a time for an interview to make that happen. So do look forward to that, and happy writing. This has been another episode of Not Safe for Words. I hope you found some useful advice here today. If so, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can join me next time for more publishing and writing insights. Thanks for listening.